Welcome to the NuBn Spiritual Warriors Astrology Podcast.
My spiritual essence is Walamu Mudada. And this podcast is provided for those who are seeking wisdom on their journey from darkness into the light.
Kee2Star Constellations. In order to learn astrology, it's very important that you pay attention to the language of astrology, because it's through the language that you'll be able to decode and analyze and interpret the meaning that is given forth in astrology. Beginning with planetary symbols, you must learn those symbols, what they mean, and recognize them when you see them. Astrological signs as well. The astro sun symbol, and what does the sun really mean or convey? The astro moon symbol, the same thing. What does it mean and what does it convey? The astrological houses and the different domains that it covers. The ascendant and how that relates to your personality. The aspects, the way in which planets communicate with each other. The moon node, letting you know something about your past and present life's journey. The astro patterns provides a way in which you can get a quick snapshot of a chart. Now, I mentioned the moon, and it's very important, particularly today, that we spend some time discussing the moon, because we have a full moon today, and the full moon is the Scorpion full moon. Now, this is a very important full moon. The full moon represents the time has ripened. The aspirations are ready to be filled if the necessary work was done. With a full moon in Scorpio, the necessary work relates to the journey of the soul. So the full moon is like you receiving your paycheck in a way, but you've already done the work. Your shadow work was one of the major tasks. Another major task is purging. These are the things that the Scorpion full moon is requiring. Each full moon relates to you completing or working on a certain task. It begins with the new moon and it ripens by the full moon. But sometimes it can go several moon incarnations. This involves releasing. Your shadow work was one of the major tasks. Another major task is purging. This involves releasing the ghosts and goblins in your emotional and psychological closet. Now you can see how the full moon in Scorpio is really demanding. It goes deep. It's like, okay, let's open that door to that closet and clean your emotional and psychological closet out of debris that you've been carrying ever since you was a child. Let's do some cleaning in that closet. Other signs might require, you do some cleaning, in the living room, the bedroom, somewhere else. But the Scorpio says, let's go right into that closet. You know how you have your children do some cleaning and then they sweep everything up under the rug. And then you come in there and you look around the room and say, oh, they did a good job. Then you lift up the rug or the carpet and you see everything up under there. That's what Scorpio started looking for. Let's go up under the rug. Let's look in the closet. A Scorpion full moon will reward those who have done this alchemical work of raising the soul to a higher vibration. For those who have been resisting your inner voice, the pressure will intensify to give you an offer that you can't refuse. So the Scorpion full moon and the Scorpion energy will leave no stone unturned. Now, why? Because Scorpio is related to Pluto. Pluto is the sign for Scorpio. And Pluto represents the journey of the soul. So that's why Scorpio is very thorough in its research, in its digging, in its investigation, because it's connected to the journey of the soul. The planet Pluto represents the journey of the soul. Once you have incarnated on this earth plane, your soul begins its journey. The journey is part of your soul's contract. You agreed and created this contract in the spirit realm. There are certain life experiences that you agreed to live through. Therefore, you choose your parents, your siblings, and all the important relationships that you would have in this lifetime. They were designed to teach you lessons. The lessons did not have an intrinsic moral agenda. They were neither good or bad, which is a concept that is foreign to the spirit realm. This concept only exists within the socialization process on Earth. The lessons were designed to accelerate your understanding and movement to a higher plane of existence based on your interpretation of the experience. That's the key. Your interpretation of the experience. And that's where astrology comes in, because it helps you to interpret the experience in, say, a soulful manner. It can be interpreted through your higher mind, spirit realm, or it can be interpreted through your lower mind, the physical plane, or your socialization process. Your interpretation directs your soul's journey. It is often called free will. There are angels and guardian spirits who agree to accompany you on this journey. Some of these energy forces decided to incarnate with you, and others decided to assist you from the spirit realm. These energies become more powerful when you recognize their true association with your soul's journey. So when we're talking about the Scorpion full moon, when we're talking about Pluto, we're talking about your soul's journey. And that's one of the key components of astrology that you must pay attention to, is the moon. Now, in analysis, we talked about four things: the house, the planets, that includes the moon as well, the aspects, and the elements. A basic analysis requires the synthesis of these four components. An understanding of the meaning or attributes in each symbol increases the depth of knowledge. In some cases, a basic analysis can be done with any combination of the two. And also, that's one of the reasons why knowing that astrological patterns are important, because sometimes you can just look at the astrological pattern of the chart and make an analysis. It may not be in depth, but it gives you a lot of pertinent information. The elements will also help you in the analysis. So you may choose to analyze a chart just through the elements. Just as you become more proficient, you know, you may choose to analyze a chart through the elements. Or you may begin to synthesize a lot of different ways of analyzing the chart. You may analyze through the elements. You may analyze through a pattern. You may put those together. And in analyzing through the elements, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. Here's the questions right here. What word represents the fire element? And I want you to put that in the chat. A word that represents the air, the earth, and the water. So I'll begin with the fire element. What word, put that in the chat, a word that represents the fire element. Anything that comes to mind. Anything that comes to mind. A word that represents the fire element. Okay, I'll wait till you put some comments in here, because by this time, you should be moving pretty good on this. That's one of the reasons why a lot of times I would, I'll say, give you the basic structure over and over again so that it will help you remember or recall some of these things. But it's not so much I'm doing it, it's the individuals that's in the chat that's giving you the information. I'm just repeating what's being put in the chat. All right, so I need a word that represents the fire element. When you think of fire, what comes to mind? And I don't mind being patient. All right, while you contemplating fire, I'll move on. A word that represents the air element. When you think of the air element, okay, I'll move to the earth element. Okay, now I got forceful. Let's see, what element are you referring to? So I can share that with everyone else. I got forceful, I got active. And now I have in my mind what element you may be referring to, but I need for you to put in. What element are you referring to when you say forceful or active? Okay, fiery. Okay, so that's fire. I see right there. That's the fire element. All right, air. Give me something for air. Air element. What comes to mind? Now, the difference about this podcast while you're contemplating, the difference about this podcast is that we work collectively together. So it's not me giving the response or the answers to you. It's you giving them to each other. Okay, I've got intelligence for air, earth, and water. Anybody can chime in, earth and water. Just identify which one you're referring to. I've got air communication, I got air intelligence. Anybody, earth and water? What comes to mind? Okay. So the question is, for those who's just joining, a word that represents earth, the earth element, or a word that represents the water element. For fire, we talked about fire earlier. We got forceful, active, fiery. For air, we've got intelligence, communication. Now, what about earth and water? Give me something for earth and water, a word that comes to mind when you hear the element of earth or the element of water. I'm still waiting on earth and water. Put it in the chat. What comes to mind? Okay, I think I got air. I think I got thoughtful with air as well. All right, somebody help out with earth and water. What comes to mind? I got practical. All right. Someone else, anything else? Practical for earth. Anything for earth and water, just put it in the chat. I got solid for earth. See how easy this is? All you got to do is what come to mind. There's no right or wrong. Okay, so we're still looking for water. And I bet there's some water signs or yeah, because you know some of these signs are water, like Pisces, water sign. I bet you there's some water signs that come on, you got to put it on in. You know about yourself. First thing to come to mind. Earth, I got methodical. Okay. So I need to come to other people. Let's help out. Let's help each other. Water, I got emotion. Now, the thing that I need to let you know is that I'm just going as far as you going. What I mean by that, let's say that, I mean, we've got, you done put in words for all four signs, but let's say that I only have words for one or two of the elements. Then that's where we stop. Then your assignment will be to find a word for another, the element that we missed. Okay, we got intuitive for water. Okay, so you know each time that we meet, we're going to have something like this questions that you got to put in the chat. Okay, so be prepared for that. Be prepared for that. It shouldn't be a surprise at this particular time. All right. Now, we're going to the four elements of manifestation: fire, earth, air, and water. We're looking at the elements as a way of analyzing the chart as well. Now, you see the signs that are in red. Those are fire signs. So fire trines fire. They're 120 degrees from each other. The ones in black, all right, that's your earth signs. And earth trines earth. So Scorpio trines Virgo, and Virgo trines Capricorn, and Capricorn trines Taurus. I may have said Scorpio, but I meant Taurus. All right. And they're all 120 degrees from each other. All right. The sign in teal, Those are your air signs. They're 120 degrees from each other. Libra, or not Libra, but Gemini, trines Libra, and Libra trines Aquarius, and Aquarius trines Gemini. All those air signs are 120 degrees away from each other. Now we go to the purplish blue. That's your water sign. All right, and water trines water. Cancer trines Scorpio. Scorpio trines Pisces, and Pisces trine Cancer. So this is very important that you pay attention to this and begin to figure this out yourself, because as we go into the aspects, the elements will help you determine the aspects, the communication that they have. When I talk about aspects, I'm talking about how are the planets communicating to each other. We also talked about patterns as a way of analyzing a chart. And you see the 7 basic patterns. Now, all charts do not follow these 7 patterns. But, based on research, these are the 7 patterns that are more popular or more frequent as you're reading a chart. Now, our mystery chart today has this particular pattern. What pattern is that? Put that in the chat. What pattern is that? Can you tell me what pattern is that? I'll take you back to the patterns, but what pattern is that? All right, so this is a pattern analysis. Take a look at the patterns. Take a closer look. Now I'm going to take you back to the chart of our mystery chart, and I want you to tell me what pattern is that. All right, there it is. All right, put in the chat, what pattern do you believe that is? In order to learn anything, you have to engage yourself. You have to engage yourself into it, whatever it is. If you want to learn how to dance, then you can look at people dancing, but that's not how you're going to learn. You got to get out on the floor. If you want to learn how to swim, you can watch people swim, but that's not how you're going to learn. You got to jump in the water. And it's the same thing with astrology. In order to learn, you have to engage in it. So what pattern is that? Put that in the chart. What pattern do you think it is? Now, when I say it like that, there's no wrong answer. What pattern do you think it is? Put that in the chart or in the chat. I'll go back to the patterns so you can take another look. Went the wrong way. Well, there it is right there. Somebody had it already. There it is right there. It's the seesaw pattern. See, but you're not learning if somebody is giving you the answers. You see, somebody already had it though. Okay, it's the seesaw pattern. So I want you to engage more so than to come onto the podcast and just sit back and wait for somebody to tell you everything. No, that's not how I do. I want to engage you in your own learning. So that means you have to be an active participant. You have to act, and that's how you learn the quickest. That's why you learn the quickest, by engaging yourself. All right. So don't be reluctant. Don't be shy. Just put in what you feel is coming to your mind. Just put it in the chat. Nobody's gonna knock on your door saying, "Oh, you got that wrong." Nobody's knocking on your door. See, so be kind to yourself. All right, so this is the seesaw pattern. The seesaw is a life of extreme contrast. So our mystery chart is about a person that has a life of extreme contrast. The individual is attempting to balance the two extremes in his life. So it is a he. The individual's life direction is to master each opposing area and bring them into balance. He will face sharp contrasting energy in his life. Okay. Now it was the seesaw pattern. Now I had someone in the chart courageous enough to put in what they thought. I want everybody to have that same type of courage. I mean, that don't really take much courage. Because like I say, nobody's going to be knocking on your door. You put the wrong thing in. Nobody's going to know who you are. I'm not going to tell them. See? So then what is the source of your reluctance? That's the question. See, now we're talking about Scorpio. Because Scorpio is, and we're talking about that Scorpion full moon. Scorpio will ask you that question. What is the source of your reluctance? Where does it come from? See? And then Scorpio will help guide you into the source of your reluctance. And then that second task of a Scorpion full moon is, now let's release this. Let's throw those ghosts and goblins out of the closet. So what is the source of your reluctance? That's a question that the Scorpion or that Scorpion full moon will ask you. What is the source of it? Then after you discover the source of it, then the Scorpion full moon will help you release it, or the Scorpion energy will help you release it. See? So then what is the source of it? I'm not a Scorpio, but I still ask that Scorpion question. What is the source of your reluctance? Okay, so it's the seesaw pattern. Talked a little bit about the seesaw pattern. Let's move on. Now we're moving to the aspect analysis. So I talked briefly about analyzing something with the elements. Talk briefly about analyzing a chart with patterns. And talk briefly about, well, that's why I'm moving into aspects. Now, the reason why this is important, because you have to discover your style. What is your style? Do you prefer to analyze a chart through the elements, through aspects, through patterns? Now, eventually, as you continue on, you'll be able to do them all. But just taking baby steps, you might want to just start off in one direction, But the only way you can find out which one you favor is to engage yourself. And then I ask that Scorpion question again. Since this is a Scorpion full moon, what is the source of your reluctance? You got to take a look at it. And then Scorpion will say, all right, now let's purge that ghost or that goblin out of your closet. Because it's time for you to move to a higher vibration, to a higher level. And you can't do that holding on to that source of your reluctance. And then once you get to the source, the next step is to purge it out of your closet. See? And once you have completed that test, then that Scorpion full moon or that Scorpion energy will reward you. All right, so we're going to talk about a square. How to identify a square. Now, we know that fire trines fire. We know water trines water. We know air trines air. And earth trines earth. Opposition is easy to identify because the planet is going to be on one side of the astrological chart, and the planet that's in opposition is going to be completely opposite of it in the other chart. Okay? Now, let's look at a square. And I'm getting more participation in the chat. I appreciate you. Here we go. So let's look at how you can determine a square. Planetary squares represent a challenge. Like some of you may be having, just to put your comment into the chat. Put it in there anyway. It is designed to sharpen your skills or to help you focus on an area of your life that needs to be upgraded in this lifetime. It presents obstacles, both internal and external. And see, I want to pause right there because that Scorpion energy will say, let's go to the internal conflict. Because if we can solve the internal conflict, then we'll eliminate the external conflict. So that Scorpion energy goes right to the root of what it is. It presents obstacles both internally and externally that requires you to reevaluate some aspect of your life and make the necessary upgrades. So we're looking at a square. So we'll be analyzing a square and finding a square in the mystery chart. So I'll give you some more information that will help you determine the planets that are 90 degrees away from each other. Now pay close attention to this, because this will help you a great deal if you decide to focus on aspects. How to determine a square using elements and signs. The elements will help you determine a square. Fire squares water when they are 3 houses apart. So if you know this is a fire sign and that's a water sign, and you see they're 3 houses apart, they may be forming a square. Air will square earth when they are 3 houses apart. Remember to keep an orb of 5 degrees for planets in these elements. We'll take a look at that in a minute. But the basic understanding is that fire will square water and air will square earth. And then if you think about it in practical forms, all right, to put out a fire, you usually put water on it. You have too much fire and water together, the water will evaporate. See, so you can look at it in practical terms as well. But remember that fire squares water and air squares earth when they are 3 houses apart. But you also have to look at the degrees. All right. So let's move on. Now, this is our mystery chart. I want you to take a minute to look at the mystery chart. We're going to look at it from the aspects. You know, we took a look at what it looked like from the patterns, but now we're going to look at it from the aspects. So take a minute to look at it, because I'm going to ask you a few questions. All right. And please put it in the chat. All right. And we're going to look at it from two different ways. We're going to look at it from just the chart, and then I'm going to take you to the planets and the degrees where you can look at it as well. All right. First question I want to ask: what planets are conjunct? Can you find two planets that are real close to each other that may be forming a conjunction? That means they're right next to each other and they're within a 5-degree orb. Put that in the chat. What two planets are right next to each other and may be conjunct? Okay, I'm waiting for you to put it in the chat. Oh, I'm going to be patient. And the only way we're going to discover it if you put it in there, because I'm not going to say nothing. We're looking for two planets that are near each other. So that means you got to look at the chart. It might be a little fuzzy for you, but that's okay. We'll work with it. Give me two planets that are near each other. That look like, well, these two planets are so close, they may be forming a conjunction. A conjunction is when two planets are close to each other and within a 5-degree orb. So you don't even have to get the orb right. I'm just asking you to show me, give me the name of two planets that's close to each other. And I'm going to ask that Scorpion question. What is your reluctance? What is the source of your reluctance? I'll move on to my next question then. The only way we're going to find that out is with your cooperation. All right, moving on to my next question. You might prefer this question. What planets are forming a trine? So you can respond to any one of those two questions. What planets are conjunct, or what planets form a trine? Now, you know that water trines water, earth trines earth, fire trines fire, and air trines air. Okay, I've got, let's see. Now, I got Venus and Mars. Now, I don't know if it's referring to the trine or is it referring to the conjunct. Venus and Mars. Let me know what you're referring to, the trine or the conjunction. I have an idea, but I prefer for you to say. Now, we know that if it's trine, okay, I got Neptune and Uranus. So I'm looking at Uranus and going to Neptune. Okay, I see Uranus. Okay, Uranus is in Sagittarius, and Neptune is in Gemini. And look at the chart. Look at where they are position-wise on the chart. What type of aspect may they be forming? Okay, we got Saturn and Neptune. Okay, Saturn. Oh, okay, I see it. Okay, that's Saturn and Uranus. Because he's talking about a conjunction. So, yeah, that's Saturn and Uranus next to each other. Okay. All right. So we got someone talking about the conjunction. Anybody see a trine? Where fire trines fire, air trines air, earth trines earth, and water trines water. Do anybody see a trine? All right, and the next one I'm going to go to, the final one, is square. The final one is a square. Now remember, fire squares water. So if you got a planet in a fire sign and you got a planet in a water sign, and they're just about 3 houses from each other, they may be forming a square. Okay? If you've got a planet in a air sign and a planet in earth sign, they may be forming a square. All right, now I'm going to take you to the chart. All right, so we looked. Okay, I got somebody, Pisces and Gemini. Okay, Pisces. They said Pisces and Gemini is square. Yes, they form a square. Pisces and Gemini automatically square. So if you got planet in Pisces, you got a planet in Gemini, they have the potential to square each other. The only thing you have to do is look at your degrees. And that's where we're going right now. Okay, now this may help some of you. You might like it in this form. See, that's the reason why I'm giving it to you in different formats, so you can decide which one you prefer. But you got to engage yourself to make that determination. All right, so let's take a look at let's start with the sun. Now, we've got the sun 19 degrees Aries. Is there any other planet that's in Aries? Okay, so we don't have a planet in Aries besides the sun. So that means that the sun is not conjunct anything. All right, I'm going to bypass the moon because the moons have been clocking to different signs. You know, it's because the moon moves fast like that. But I'm going to go to Mercury. All right, Mercury is in Taurus at 9 degrees. Is there any other planet in Taurus that's close to 9 degrees? Put it in the chat. Is there any other planet in Taurus that's close to 9 degrees? Put it in the chat. See, this is where learning the symbols, the signs and the symbols help. See, so you have to become familiar with the signs and the symbols if you're going to be able to analyze a chart. You have to become familiar with the signs and the symbols. Only way you're going to become familiar with the signs and the symbols is to keep looking at them and do some homework on it. Study. What does this symbol mean? What does this symbol represent? Okay. All right. Like I said, if you don't say it, it won't be said. If you don't say it, it won't be said. I'll give you a guide, I'll give you a clue, I'll do all that, but you got to say it. You got to put it in the chat. All right. So I'm going to move toward Mars. Okay, Mars is 15 degrees Pisces. Is there any other sign? We're talking about conjunct. Is there any other sign that's in Pisces that may be close to 15 degrees? And if you look at the symbol for Pisces, oh, someone said Mercury and Venus are close. That's right. So they have the possibility of forming a conjunction. They're close. Mercury and Venus. Both of them are in Taurus. That's the sign that they're in, Taurus. And their degrees are rather close. The difference is about 6 or 7 degrees. And some astrologers say that's close enough. But I'm glad you saw that. Now we see that Mars is in Pisces. That's the sign for Pisces. And it's 15 degrees Pisces. But we don't see that sign anywhere else. So there's no planet that's conjuncting Mars. We go to Jupiter. Jupiter is in Libra, but we only see that sign Libra one time, so there's no planet that's conjuncting Jupiter. All right, let's go to Sagittarius. Is there any planet? Is there any planet that may be conjuncting in the sign of Sagittarius? All right, so look at your chart. Do you see anything that may be conjuncting in the sign of Sagittarius? Now, the clue is if you have more than one sign that looks like that same symbol, there's a possibility. Then the next thing you take a look at is the degrees. So how many arrows do you see? Put that in the chat. Someone let me know they're having a bad connection. Okay. And even if you got a bad connection or something, let me know. I mean, that's if you can. All right. How many arrows do you see? Now, I'm trying to walk you through it very basically. And then I can help you out. But you got to talk to me. I'm not doing all the heavy lifting. No, no, no. We're going to work together. All right. Well, if you don't say nothing to me, you don't put nothing in the chat, I'll move on. All right. Then I'm going to the next sign. Okay. Neptune is 20 degrees Gemini. Do you see any other planet with that same sign of Gemini? Put that in the chat. Any other planet in the sign of Gemini, put that in the chat. Okay. I'm getting some responses. I need a response that's relating to the subject at hand. Is there any other planet that is in Gemini? Neptune is 20 degrees Gemini. Is there any other planet in Gemini? Okay, well, I'll move on. We're going to do this together. This is not no solo mission. We're doing this together. Now, I just want to mention what I've shared with you is how to, we took a look at how to look at a chart through patterns. We took a look at how to look at a chart through elements. We took a look at how to read a chart just by looking at it. And we took a look at a chart through degrees. That's what you're looking at right now, degrees. And how to determine whether something is, say, conjunct, trine, or something of that nature. Now, there's one thing I will say since we're talking about a square. Said fire squares water. So the sun is 19 degrees Aries. That's a fire sign. So I'm looking for a water sign, a planet that's in a water sign that's close to 19 degrees. And as I look at the degrees, I see Mars is 15 degrees Pisces. That's a water sign. Okay. And I know by looking at the houses that they're not too far apart. See, so if I go back to the chart, I could take a look because I'd see that that's water and that's fire. And I know they square each other. So I'm going to go back to the chart. I'm going to look for the sun. I'm looking for Mars. Okay, they're pretty close. They don't look like three houses apart. So they may not be square. They look pretty close. So I'm looking for a square. All right. I know that air squares Earth. All right. So I got Mercury, 9 degrees Taurus. That's Earth. So I'm looking for something in air. And I have Pluto 13 degrees Gemini. That's air. So I look at the chart. There's a possibility of a square. So I'm going back looking at the chart. So I see Pluto, 13 degrees in Gemini. And there was something in Earth. Let me see what was that in Earth. Pluto, 13 degrees Gemini. And Earth, that was Mercury in Earth. Mercury and Earth. So I go back to the chart and take a look at that. Pluto and Mercury. Okay, they're pretty close together. All right. So I may not have a square. I would have to study a little more to see if I really have a square. But we would have to study, not just me. We would have to study. All right. So we went over that. And now I'm going to chart summary. Okay. Now I'm going to give you some astrological clues. Here's some of your astrological clues for the mystery chart. He was an international singer. Now, that's Mercury in Taurus. Taurus rules the throat. He had a very powerful baritone voice. That's Pluto in Gemini. Gemini rules the lungs. See, first we have to get past some of these basic things so that I can get into what sign or what planet rules what part of the body. But right now, we need to be able to identify the signs, where they're at, the trines, the conjunctions. That's where we are right now. He was a multi-talented singer and athlete. That's Jupiter in Libra. Athlete with balanced coordination. He was a valedictorian at Rutgers University, and he earned a law degree at Columbia University. That's Saturn in Sagittarius. Saturn in Sagittarius is dealing with structure on a higher level. And Uranus in Sagittarius, that's dealing with a quick mind. And in the ninth house. So those planets are in the ninth house. So the ninth house deals with law, structure, sharp mind, and the tendency for social causes. Now we know that this individual has a seesaw pattern. Conflict between his career as an entertainer and his social activism. That's the seesaw. So his career as an entertainer and what he was doing socially was coming into conflict. Now, let me give you the time period. I'll give you other clues that will bring in the time period. So you'll know just about what time period this is. He performed in All God's Children in 1924. He performed in the Emperor Jones in 1925. And he became famous for his Othello performance in London. Now, let me bring a little seesaw in. He was accused of being a communist due to social activism for Black people. All right, take a minute and let that marinate, and then we'll come to our mystery chart.
assume the position. It may be with your feet flat on the floor and your spine erect. It may be in a yoga position. Whatever position you assume, your spine is erect. Now gently close your eyes, for you are going on an inner journey. And this inner journey begins with the breath. So as you inhale, earth energy comes up through the center of your feet, through the center of your body, to the top of your head. And on exhalation, it showers out the top of your head like a fountain, returning to the earth. Again, on inhalation, earth energy comes up through the center of your feet, through the center of your body to the top of your head. And on exhalation, this energy showers out the top of your head like a fountain.
Okay, so I'd like for you to put in the chat what came to your mind. Whose mystery chart is this? Put that information in the chat. Who do you think it is? Make sure you like and subscribe. And here's our mystery chart. It belongs to this person. It belongs to Paul Robeson. He was a multi-genius scholar. And he was an activist. And particularly around that time in the 1920s and 30s, about that time, all they wanted Black people to do was sing and dance. Now, you can't have a position on the conditions of your people. And you can't fight to improve the conditions of your people. So that's the seesaw pattern. He was a great actor. He was a great athlete, internationally known. But when he started his activism, then there was a clash. So theaters and things of that nature didn't want to have him come perform because he was standing up for the rights of Black people. So they were trying to put social pressure on him is just be an athlete or just be an entertainer and don't worry about that part of social activism. But he refused to let go of that aspect of himself. So it was that seesaw trying to balance the two. Paul Robeson. I want to thank you for your participation and your presence. And as I said, you know, we're doing this together. So you have to put some information in the chat. You put it in, I can work with what you put in. Okay? But we're doing this together. And if there are certain aspects that you don't know and you're discovering that, well, I don't know what the planet look like. I don't know what that symbol for that planet. I don't know what that, well, start studying. It's very important. Start studying so that you know some of those basic things, but I'm not going to move beyond the basics. I mean, eventually I will, as you show me that you're ready for me to move beyond the basics. But right now, we're going to stay with the basics. So thank you once again, and high vibration.